masterpiece.
We are back with the Buffalonian Podcast. I'm Joe Cali. As always, I'm joined by none other than Dom Loss. And Dom, little unorthodox start, not a Buffalo sport, but I guess a Rochester connection, so close enough. Rory McIlroy has finally gotten the infinity gauntlet of golf, if you will. He won his first Masters, right? First Masters, only Masters. So now he's got every major tournament win. So this is a pretty big moment for him. Everybody else, they showed a graphic. Everybody else took about, 1 season, 3 seasons. It took him 11. So he's been hacking at this for a while. A lot of respect for him. I'm Joe Cali. As always, I'm joined by none other than Dom Loss. And Dom, we were watching together the whole final day. We sat down at 2 p.m., didn't stop until like 7:30 by the time that wrapped up the playoff because he almost sold. He almost just choked. What was going through your head watching him win that? I know I was rooting for DeChambeau big time, but didn't work out that way. But Rory and Love, I mean, those two guys end up in a playoff and Rory wins.
Yeah, very Billsy. That's what I thought of.
Very Billsy.
Kind of very up and down.
Yes.
Think they're going to win, kind of choke, but then, they come out in the end. He came out in the end, and I don't know. I think it's a interesting moment in the world of sports. He was kind of the athlete that probably was the number one monkey on your back. Not just winning the Masters. I mean, winning the career Grand Slam is a great accomplishment. It's not even just that; it's just winning any major for him because it had been 11 years since he won any major, and he'd been so close in some, and then obviously last year at the U.S. Open. Definitely choked that one.
That was bad.
Missed about a 3-footer, bogey the 18th, and then Bryson clutched up and parred to win. So, yeah, I mean, it's a cool moment. I think it's kind of puts a little bit of a microscope now on some of these other great athletes that are chasing their big accomplishment.
Yeah.
I think we saw, in the last couple of years, I think a good example of a guy that gave the monkey out the back was probably Messi. I know he was a great player, but winning the World Cup
finally did it. Yeah.
After losing, 8 years ago, and then almost retiring from the national team. Djokovic, I know in tennis guy here, but he had won pretty much everything except Olympic gold, and then he finally won Olympic gold in Paris.
It'd be like Allen notching a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
So that's very similar.
That's kind of what the next athlete is talked about is Josh. I mean, my dad hates that. I already brought that up to my dad. I was like, yeah, we're going to talk about that. He's like, no, it's Lamar. My dad is a generational Lamar hater. But
I agree. It should be Lamar.
But it isn't.
But it's not going to be. The media always points towards, when is Josh Allen going to win a Super Bowl? When is he going to take Buffalo to a Super Bowl? It's just what happens.
It won't be Lamar because Allen, I think, is closest to that Rory of having good performances but falling short. Lamar just started to have good playoff games. And even in the Bills one, he had a couple turnovers, and that's kind of one of the reasons they lost.
Playoff Lamar showed out. That's what everyone said.
So, Josh has always been oh, you've been so close or whatever. So I think it's easily Josh. I mean, I don't. The only athlete that I think could potentially top the list, other than Josh, if we're not talking football, would be your guy, Aaron Judge.
Yes,
I think Judge. You can make a case because Judge, I think, is 32.
32, I think we saw.
Yeah. So he's a little bit. I mean, Allen's only about to turn 29 in May. So you think he has another decade left? MLB, you probably have maybe until your mid 30s left in your prime. So he only has a couple years left, probably being prime Aaron Judge. So, and obviously he just lost in the World Series, and also he's also kind of noted as kind of a playoff choker.
Yes,
not playing his best in the brightest lights. So I think it's Judge would be one, but I think Allen and Lamar kind of split that honor of two of
I would agree. I think, like we just said, it is a split between the two. One's going to get more focus in that arena, and that is Josh. Now that he's notched an MVP as well, it's going to be okay, when can he get over the hump? When can he do that? I agree. I do think Aaron Judge is a good one, though, because, recency bias, we did just watch him, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But the World Series last year, I mean, absolute choke job in the top of the fifth. So it's when are you going to be able to get over those moments? And shine in the bright lights instead of just being a shadow.
Yeah, like someone said like Harden for basketball, but like Harden just was always a choker, and I don't think he has that great of a chance of winning. So I think he's kind of unrealistic. But I think like NHL wise, like I guess McDavid, kind of. I know he's under 30, but he hasn't won, and I guess he'd be kind of like if we get a couple more seasons and he hasn't won, I think the pressure will really start. McKinnon's won one. I guess Austin Matthews can make another one.
NHL's got a couple.
Yeah, and they probably have a couple of guys. It's like, oh, like
it's different league though.
I mean, it's a little bit different. I would say in a team sport.
But then again, we're talking about golf and football. Like, how different could that be?
I mean, it's a little bit different in a team sport, but I just think the quarterback is such an important position.
It's the central, the most spotlight-ish. You're gonna be at the center of everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, not defensively, of course, but what do they say in the matchups? Allen versus Lamar. Do they ever directly play each other on the field? No, it's just the central position. So I agree. Hopefully Josh gets over that hump soon and we see a Rory moment from him. It hasn't been that long. It has not been 11 years. Okay.
It has been 7.
It has been 7. So we're a few away. Okay. But, no, it just, I mean, all jokes aside, I did joke, everyone else, it took 1 to 3 years. It took him 11. Like, do you think, is that going to stain his legacy as a golfer?
No.
Not at all?
Absolutely not. No.
Now that he's got it, he's got it. There's no question about how long it took.
It would have stained his legacy.
If he missed, if it didn't go to a playoff and he lost, say it was tied up for the playoff, he drops that putt and then loses.
Oh, he just would be known as a choker.
The generational choker.
He'd be known as a really good golfer. He'd be known as one of the all-time great golfers, but probably could have, would have, should have. I'm trying to think about like a good example of someone who's like won earlier in the career but never won again.
I know.
I'm trying to think of like a quarterback that like won really early, but I don't know.
There aren't too many good examples of that. Everyone
well, like Dan Marino, I think, is an example of like
he never
won, and that gets. Favre, but Favre won pretty early in his career. Like I think he won 95 Super Bowl, and that was probably his 5th year, 6th year. And
would Rodgers count?
Rodgers is a good one. Yeah. Rodgers same. So
they're very similar in their trajectory.
No, but it's true though. I think both those guys, their legacies do get kind of impacted because like, oh, you won one early. We expected you to go on this run, and you've had close calls. I think Rodgers is a really good one. Favre is pretty good. Like Favre had some close calls. This was late in his career. Like he lost that 09 and 07 NFC Championship game.
Rodgers is a playoff choker,
but
on the Packers at least sometimes. Like towards the end of his Packers run,
I think Rodgers does
he get a pass on that?
He's a little bit of a playoff choker, but he actually has pretty good stats. I think some of it's a little. Those teams just didn't have the.
They couldn't do it.
But yeah, I mean they did. I mean, listen, he lost that 2014 one to Seattle. That really wasn't his fault. They couldn't recover the onside kick, but that happened. They got blown out by Atlanta in 16. They got blown out by the Niners in 19. They lost to the Bucks in 20. So he's lost quite a bit of championship games. Or if he gets one of those and gets to the Super Bowl and wins again, like it just kind of changes your. I think we're looking at him. Like I think people look at Aaron Rodgers and say like he's a top 10 quarterback of all time.
Yes.
If he won a second one, I think people will be looking at him as top 5. Like that's kind of a marker, So like him not like honestly got a good example for it's not a great example for Rory because Rory I think has more years left and could actually maybe win a couple more majors.
He might put in a couple more notches.
Peyton won in 06 and then it was like, oh, is he ever going to win again? Like he lost the Super Bowl in 09, lost Super Bowl in 13. It's like, oh, maybe like Peyton just like
he had one Super Bowl. That was
then he ended with 2 and it was like, oh wait, that changed Peyton's legacy.
Yeah,
because he was always like, oh, the greatest regular season quarterback of all time, but he was a known choker, and it's like, oh, he's only going to win one.
Yeah,
and he wasn't even that great in that one. I mean, he wasn't that great in the other run either. But having 2 was, I mean,
2 Super Bowls will do it. That'll put you over the top.
It's one up on Favre. It's one up on Rodgers. Like it matters.
So it is an interesting conversation. One that it's definitely going to evolve. I could see this. ESPN in the summer months.
Yeah, it's
taking this all the way because they already talked about what does this do to LeBron James' legacy. That was already
that was also after I was it's interesting around too. It's like okay, like I think a lot of people consider him the greatest Bills quarterback of all time.
Kelly
or going to be
or Josh
going to be I should say. I think some people still have the he's got to get to the Super Bowl, which I think is a little bit unfair.
I mean he's breaking all these records. And
I think once he does it in a couple years he will be for sure. I just think. It is just like I think it's forgotten how talented those 90s teams were.
Yeah, all around. I mean,
like he was playing
he had the
Hall of
MVP running back behind him.
Hall of Fame running back, Hall of Fame wide receiver. I mean, probably one or the second best pass rusher of his generation behind Reggie White. So,
and you can't forget he didn't make it into the Hall of Fame, but one of the better special teams players to ever do it, Steve Tasker.
That doesn't really impact me that much.
I know. But, got to give special teams some love.
But yeah, that will be a debate closing in because he's closing in on a lot of his records. Someone did by 2026. I think he's at 195 passing touchdowns. I think the record's 236 or 37. So
he's closing in quick.
But someone I read that and someone said 2027 he'll do it. I was like, I don't know, that's 40 passing touchdowns. I could get it might take a year and a half because Allen has kind of only thrown recently for in the 25 to 30 range.
Yeah, he's not breaking crazy numbers in passing.
But I don't think he's gonna take 2 years to throw 40 touchdowns. I mean, just in my opinion.
Maybe he sees the record and he's like, you know what, let's do it in a year. He might. Who knows? He rushes a lot though, so that's the thing. The throwing touchdowns, I think that's going to be the thing that might make it 2 years.
He already has the rushing touchdowns record.
I know that.
It's crazy.
Yeah, unbelievable.
But on to the main event.
Yeah.
The mock draft.
And the Bills, the NFL draft, we're a week away. What will they do? Well, we'll see. I feel like it's a lot of split opinions out there. But, Dom, tell them what we're going to do.
Yeah, we're going to do what we did last year with the PFF mock draft. We'll do one this week. We'll probably do one next week as well.
Yes.
Because obviously we'll be out. I mean, the draft is Thursday, so we're a little after a week. But I know last year was all about... I think this year's interesting because last year was all about the receiver, right? Mm-hmm. It was all about what we can do.
Everyone was on the wide receiver train.
I don't think we did a trade back. I think we did what? We traded up once for Neighbors or Odunze. We might have did one more for Thomas, and then we did one where we drafted Xavier Worthy 27th overall.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
We were right that he was going to be picked 27th. So it was just
not by the Bills.
Wrong team.
Not by the Bills.
But this year, 30, 56, 62. I think the Bills have a lot of interesting ways they can go about it.
Mm-hmm.
If Will Johnson, the corner of Michigan, falls, maybe they trade up.
Yeah. Trading up could be a possibility.
Or it could be trading down and hey, let's get another 3rd round pick and let's get 3 2s and a third. I think the Bills should be aggressive. Listen, this is what's really important. Someone, I can't remember who said this, it was just a dumb statement. It's the Bills don't have 10 roster spots available on this roster with their draft picks. They don't have enough roster spots for all these draft picks to make it. So yeah, be aggressive. You have, I think, 3 5s. Be aggressive and try and move up around and make sure you solidify who you want. They have enough needs for, I think, high level players, if that makes sense. They have a need for a corner or two. They have a need for a defensive tackle. They have a need for another edge, right? You could use another maybe linebacker for some depth, maybe another safety for some depth, another receiver.
Yeah, I would grab a receiver at some point.
I'll say this: a run. Heck, you could make it. Maybe do a day 3 quarterback dart throw.
Yeah, right. This year's quarterback class is interesting.
I don't know about running back though. People are like, "Oh, maybe they should draft a running back." This is the problem. Is that again with the roster spots? It's all right. They signed Ty Johnson to a multi-year extension.
You have Ray Davis.
They drafted Ray Davis, and they have James Cook. So if you draft a running back, that's running back 4. Are they going to
sitting on your practice squad?
Well, if he makes the practice, I'm just saying that running back is probably they're not going to probably one have him active. I mean, not a chance. And 2, are they really going to keep 4 running backs?
I think next year's the year you see a running back taken when James Cook doesn't get a payday. That's when that's appropriate, in my opinion. If you take a running back this year, I'm not saying it's a wasted pick because depth, whatever, but
it's almost the thought of they took James Cook when Devin Singletary was a year away.
Yeah.
And it's that's true, but it's also
there were more roster spots for running back, were there not? Or I'm trying to remember.
I mean, yeah, they didn't have Latavius Murray signed at that time. Naeem Hines, I think, might have had that knee injury already. So, but
yeah,
again, they don't have they had drafted Ray Davis. There wasn't a Ray Davis player in that room at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I whatever. Well, 30, 56. Well, for the sake of the first mock that we'll do, we'll stay pat.
Stay at 30, and then we'll go from 30. There.
So
2 rounds. So we're gonna work with. That's fine.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, just keep it simple for the first one. We can do a little more in depth as we go. It's time to enter the draft room. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Entering the draft room. On the clock, Tennessee. We're going to start the draft. Cam Ward. Oh, man, I got to slow this down. It is moving.
You can do them all. You can do them all, and then
we'll just read through.
We'll read through what happened.
Okay. They're going quick now, as they should be. So we are on the clock now, officially. I'm going to pause to make sure. Cam Ward goes first overall to the Tennessee Titans. Mason Graham, interior defensive lineman, goes next to Cleveland. Sanders goes to New York. Hunter goes to the Patriots.
Yeah, not that much intrigue.
No.
I don't know how realistic all this is.
Genty goes to the Jags. Abdul Carter, edge rusher, goes to the Raiders. Will Campbell goes to the Jets. Barron goes to cornerback, goes to the Panthers. I'm looking to see if there's any big names here. There's nothing.
Will
really
Johnson went.
Will Johnson did go. Yep.
16. So that would have been the range if they wanted to trade up. Probably a little too rich.
Right in here. Kenneth Grant goes at pick 20.
I think Kenneth Grant's a little overrated.
He's a little big. You see?
No, he's big, but he doesn't play big.
Yes.
I think people...
You need a Daquan Jones replacement. I don't think he'll give that to you.
He's more of a really high-ceiling guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You need a Daquan Jones replacement. So realistically, Malachi Starks goes
27.
Unfortunate.
That would have been an interesting pick.
On the clock currently, I mean, you could see it.
So what kind of trade offers? Can we just see the trade offers?
Yeah, let's see. We got 3 trade offers. The Raiders.
Okay. What do they want?
Let's see. Oh, we have to subscribe to unlock draft trades. That's funny.
I'm not doing that.
So we. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to cheap out on this one. I'm not subscribing.
Who is available at cornerback? I just want to see.
Cornerback. Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. Benjamin Morrison, Notre Dame.
All right, so we got a lot of good corners. Do interior defensive tackle?
Oh, got to check off cornerback. I was like, excuse me? Walter Nolan.
Oh, Derek Harmon's available?
Derek Harmon is available from Oregon.
All right, so I think, to me, the pick... Can we just see edge? Sorry.
Yes.
Those are like the 3 positions that's like, all right.
If you're watching on video, you'll be able to watch along with us. And I scrolled way too far. Little trigger happy on the mouse.
Yeah, not excited about any of those.
No, right. I'm not either.
So it's pretty much between defensive tackle and corner. And I guess the conversation would be Walter Nolan has some character concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay taking him?
Okay.
Right. Trey Amos, I think, is a perfect fit.
Mm-hmm. I do too. And honestly, defensive line, I think you might be able to grab at your next pick a solid player.
Derek Harmon, though, is so good.
He is good, and he's still here.
But I think you need a starting. I would take Trey.
I think I'd go cornerback. I'm not going to lie to you. The need for me is screaming more from the cornerback room than it is.
I would take Harmon.
Would you?
I trust the day 2 corners. I would take Harmon.
Okay. All right. You know what? I'll let you make the first pick. We're going to go Derek Harmon. Draft.
I think he's instantly a guy that could play the Daquan Jones role instantly.
That's really what you need. So
who went off the board? Yeah,
I'm scrolling back up. Let's look. Walter Nolan goes off to the Giants. Nick Emenwari, safety, goes to the Jags. I'm looking to see. Jackson Dart, next quarterback off the board. If you're wondering who QB3 is going to be, goes to the Jets. What a room they have. Trey Amos goes to the Falcons. Tyleek Williams goes to out of Ohio State, goes to the Dolphins.
All right, so he was kind of like a guy that we could have picked. So I feel pretty good.
Yeah, cornerback Darian Porter goes to the Bucks. Not many cornerbacks off the board.
I feel pretty good where we're at with the corners, how they felt. I think we could pick between Benjamin Morrison, who had some injury concerns, or Maxwell Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's between those 2 guys. So I'll let you pick.
I'm going Notre Dame, Benjamin Morrison. I like Morrison a lot from what I've seen from him. So the Bills draft Benjamin Morrison. Did you see Kobe Bryant on that board?
Mm-hmm. All right, so it's all. Yeah.
This is all now. This is, I mean, some of these D linemen have actually fallen quite a bit.
What kind of edge do we have?
Let's look at the edge rushers. Jared Ivey, Josiah Stewart from Michigan. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to pronounce the first name.
Yeah, Oladejo.
Oladejo.
He's a high ceiling guy. I think that would be the pick here.
Okay. All right, Oladejo, pick for the Buffalo Bills. Oh, let's get the grade. You ready? First draft grade of the year. Wow, 2 C's. Did you see that? We got a B+ overall. Derek Harmon's a C+. Excuse me? Do you think they were shooting for cornerback on the first pick? PFF at least?
I just think they didn't probably I think if we would have picked Nolan instead, I just think Nolan has character concerns, so I don't know if they would pick him. But
Yeah,
that was pretty good. B+, C+ for the 2 defensive linemen, and A+ for Benjamin Morrison. Again, if his hip is all good, that's a good pick, I think. Does struggle to tackle, but I think you could coach that out of him. And then Harmon, I think, is a great pick, so I don't care about the grade.
yeah.
And then, Lejejo is kind of...
Like you said, he's got a ceiling to work with.
Has a high ceiling. I think maybe they would go someplace else with that pick, just because maybe they would want someone... I can't remember who's available at 62 who just picked them, but maybe they want to go someone like Josiah Stewart from Michigan,
yes,
who maybe has a higher floor, so he could play a little bit earlier because you have the suspensions with Michael Hoyt, and you want Joey Bosa maybe not to be on the field as much early on. So that could be a conversation. But I the first 2 picks I think were really good thought process.
Yes,
I think it really worked out for us because
the cornerbacks, you were right. They fell. We had a good quarterback pick at pick number 2.
I would have been comfortable with Morrison or Harrison, or even if you wanted to kind of reach a little bit, maybe for Noah Williams, the cornerback out of Cal. So I just think we did a pretty good job there.
Yeah, mock draft number 1. We're going to do a couple more of these, as Dom said, so we're going to see how it goes as we approach the draft. But now it's time. We have friendly fire in the Sabres organization, if you haven't seen. And what a transition that is. Owen Power might require off-season surgery. I haven't seen the update. I don't know if he will or
they had
won't.
an MRI, and they said it's not. They could lead in the next season.
No, of course. And at the hands of who, you may be wondering. The Sabre who better not be here next season, Matthias Samuelsson. Is anyone surprised at the notion of that being who that is? No, not me. As soon as I saw this, Matthias Samuelsson, that tracks. Going in for a hit.
You thought it would be Taylor Rapp.
You'd think so. Spearing someone, right? Geez.
But
oh my God.
Honestly, probably one of the worst things that could have happened. The only 2 people probably that would have been worse would have been Tage or Darlene. I could hear an argument for Luukkonen just because he's the goalie.
Yeah.
But
no, it's one of the
brutal.
worst. Yeah.
I mean, they're 0-8-2 when one of Darlene and Power miss the season. Say what you want about Owen Power, they look like crap on without him in Tampa.
They did
terrible.
I see a lot said about Owen Power, right? A lot of negative, and I don't know where you stand on it. I think, I'm not going to sit here and drag him down, his performance. I think he's young. He's going to he's going to grow into an NHL defenseman little by little. He's improved very much since we first saw him out on the ice. And I know
he's an offensive defenseman that is learning how to play defense in the NHL at 22. And that's the reality of the situation.
Right.
I think it's really unfortunate because he's a guy that I think I hate to say it. I could spin this in a good way of saying this puts pressure on Kevin Adams to really go after the defense and upgrade the defense this offseason, because if you're going to be down your number 2 defenseman for however long he's going to be out for,
not a good look.
That's massive. And my concern would be, if I'm going to spin it negatively, would be that they are going to pay Bowen Byram now, which I think would be the wrong move. I think the right move would be we've now seen enough of samples. We have seen enough of a sample size with Darlene and Power out of 10 games of this guy just craps the bed when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen enough of a sample size that, he's good with Darlene, but he can't hold his own line.
Yeah.
His own pair. And I think you should trade him for whatever value you can have, perceived value of what people might actually think he is, in terms of what his real value is, of what he actually is, which is kind of a top, 4 defenseman that has a lot of limitations. And
right.
So I think that's an easy decision. I just think, again, you could spin positive that, hey, this injury is going to force Kevin Adams' hand to really invest in the defense.
Right.
But that could also be a negative because it could be investing in Bowen Byram, which is...
I don't know how to feel about that.
I think it's the wrong move.
Yeah.
It's kind of... it's just interesting. It's really unfortunate. I think that's the key. I mean, it's just of course, the season where they're not going to finish get 80 points, they're going to not sniff the playoffs again for 14th straight year, and one of their better players is now going to be
injured,
have a
possibly
long-term injury.
Yeah. And so it's not even just how long the injury is going to last. is he the same when he comes back? Like, that's the question. And that could affect you for a very long time.
This team needs, I think this isn't just a crossroads moment of like, you have to fork in the road and make a lot of decisions about the score. Like Jack Quinn, I don't care how well people perceive that he's played. He has now come back to earth. Like, he needs to get out. Like,
yep.
There's just a lot of stuff that I think we saw the Dylan Cousins. They played better without Dylan Cousins. Why? Even though they haven't had Josh Norris in the lineup, addition by subtraction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I think we need to see here with the Sabres. Is like, all right, Jack Quinn, negative, get him out. Bowen Byram, probably more negative than positive. We could actually get a legitimate return for him.
Exactly. I mean, look at how well Tage is playing, and that top line is not a top line you would have picked at the beginning of the season.
I mean, Benson's played really well. I like what we've seen from Kulich. McLeod's been good. They're not going to flip Norris. I'm a little frustrated. I will say this. The one frustration about the Cousins trade is, and I think he would have got clowned on it, but I think looking back at it, he should have just traded him for futures. And then just should have, I mean, again, do we trust Kevin Adams to flip him? Probably not, but flip those futures for
an asset.
For another asset that's not Josh Norris.
Yeah.
Because I think Josh Norris, being injured and not being able to play is kind of the story of his career.
And the injury's still, it's upper body, right?
Mid-body.
Yeah,
new one.
Jeez. So, yeah, mid-body injury. And it's just...
Played 4 games or whatever. So it's like...
Yeah, you got no return.
Can't count on him. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Docker, I say Docker, but Docker has actually been pretty good in their, playing a power.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think he's anything more than a bottom pair guy? No, but he seems to be cheap and he's a right shot defenseman. So it's just a situation. I think the defense needs a complete overhaul. Hopefully, power can start in the beginning of the season because they're going to need him. And
yeah, you're really hoping, and you hope they don't invest in Bowen Byram.
Yep, and they need to add some forwards, but it's kind of the same old. I mean,
it's
they
also
lose to Florida in a shootout. They get crushed by Tampa.
Crushed.
They played tonight against They played tonight against Toronto,
I believe so.
right? And then they play on Thursday against Philadelphia at the end of the year at home. So
yeah, and then locker clean out is Friday and Saturday.
I'll be interested what happens.
Yep. So, year 14 of the playoff drought. Here we come. Maybe on to year 15. Who knows? Or we're going to see what happens. But
Not great, Bob.
not great. The vibes are not great around that team. Could talk more, but I think it would just bring the vibes down, unfortunately.
Talking about good vibes, though, before we
Yes.
talk about our trip, the Bandits, we were there. They had a nice win against Halifax. Something doesn't feel quite right about them. Like, something's a little off with the Bandits.
It always gets close, and then it's like
they
a
can
battle.
They can still win, but it's just bizarre. My dad didn't like that Matt Vince was named co-player of the year, but I was looking at the stats, and he has one of the most wins in the NLL this year.
Mm-hmm.
He has the most minutes played. His save percentage at 79% is pretty much right where all the top guys are. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Tough to maybe a little bit more eye test. I don't know.
I said the same thing. I texted you at 7:30 p.m. and I said soft MVP pick with Vince, and he was the co-MVP with Dane Smith. So I listen. All respect to him because he's had a phenomenal career, and in Buffalo he has been lights out. I just think 40 plus years old starting to show a little bit. I think that's where we're at. But yeah, they clinched the 1 seat. It's exciting. So a team that continues to impress in KeyBank Center and has no branding around the KeyBank Center, living in the shell of the failures house. So it's rather exciting for the NLL, and they broke the sellout season record as well,
and the attendance record for NLL as well. So good for them.
Buffalo's a lacrosse city. That's crazy.
But going into we didn't have a pod last week because we were recovering from our weekend trip, previous weekend, to the great steel city of Pittsburgh.
Yes, we drove down there and caught a Pirates-Yankees game. Me as a Yankees fan, as anyone who listens to this knows, and Dom is a Red Sox fan, but he was rooting for the home team, the Pirates. PNC Park was beautiful. It was like 70 degrees. It was beautiful outside, but it was raining. So it was
like light rain. It was actually good rain though.
It was. There was no delay. So that just tells you how bad the rain actually was. It wasn't bad. We were covered though, so we weren't even getting wet. We weren't getting rained on, except for statistician Ginge. He just so happened to sit in the one seat that had a drip from the ceiling coming down right on the back of his head, and he just accepted it.
Respect to him.
Utmost respect to him, not asking to move and just playing through it. But
yeah, but I think it was a good time. It's only a 4 hour. It was only a 4 hour drive, so with stops, it was probably closer to maybe 5. But
yeah, it really was 3.5.
You're right,
and closer to 4 with stops.
Yeah,
I would say.
But I would say as a Buffalonian, like I think it's like Cleveland to me. It's like it's a really nice spot to kind of. It doesn't take super long to get down. There's stuff to do like in walk distance of the city.
Yeah, our place was outside of the city, and it was only like a 20-minute walk into it.
Yeah,
and it felt like nothing. So,
and obviously it's a beautiful place. The bridges are cool. Went to the Mr. Rogers statue.
We did, and the Kennedy, not the Kennedy Science Center,
Carnegie.
Sorry, yes, Carnegie. Carnegie Science Center we went to. Heinz Field. Acrisure Stadium we saw. So, yeah, we did a lot of sightseeing. Cool.
Bills are playing in Pittsburgh. Well, they play Pittsburgh.
They play the Steelers, possibly
as
overseas.
As their away team, yeah.
Yeah, so that everyone's leaning towards that game as possibly being the Ireland matchup. So we'll see what happens there. If they're in Pittsburgh, though, it might not be a bad trip to take.
I think that is in a month, the schedule.
We'll know.
Mid-May, yeah, so.
We'll we could even, we might go live for the schedule release. Who knows? Because that's always exciting. But, yeah, fun trip to Pittsburgh. Do it. 3 hours away. I mean, just fill your car with gas and go. Stop at Sheets on the way. No free brand deals, but that's like a staple of the trip down.
Again, a lot to do. Historical. Catching a ball game is cool. So
yeah, at PNC, and yeah, Yankees won 10-4. So let's go. But without further ado, that's going to do it for this edition of the Buffalonian Podcast. I'm Joe Cali. As always, I'm joined by none other than Dom Loss. And Dom, how do we always end these?
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.